Hello everyone. Today we will be learning how to solve equations that include variable on both sides. Do you guys remember what we learned the last class? Last class we learned how to solve equations that include variable on the same side. So for example, last class we learned here we have variables on the same side. All right, so we have variables on the same side. You have 2x and 4x. They are like terms. To solve the equation, you have to collect the like terms. 2x plus 4x. So how many x's do we have? 6x. Plus 6 equals 18. After that, we're going to isolate x. So to isolate x, you have to isolate the term with x, which is 6x. So you're going to isolate 6x by subtracting 6 from both sides. Then I have 6 equals 12 and x equals divide both sides by 6, then x equals 2. So if you use a balance scale, here you have 2x. So I'm going to draw x tiles. You have 2x and you have 4x. So I'm going to draw 4x tiles. Right? And you have 6. So I'm going to draw 6 integer chips. And now that is equal to, that is equal to 18. So I'm drawing 18 integer chips. Okay, so 2x and 4x, they are on the same side. So therefore, we have to add those up. So 2x and 4x, that is total 6x. Is that right? Because it's on the same plate, on the same side. To solve the equation, we took away 6 integer chips from both sides. Like I subtract 6 from both sides, right? And you have 6x equals 12 and divide both sides by 6 and your answer is 2. So this was how you solve equation that include variable on the same side. Today, we're going to learn how to solve equations that include variable on both sides, on the different side. Okay, I want you to look at this. Look at the normal question. You have 4a plus 6 equals 7a. So you have a's on the different side. So 4a on the left hand side and 7a on the right hand side. So when you draw a balance scale, you have to draw 4a tiles on the left hand side and 7a tiles on the right hand side. Okay, 4a plus 6 integer chips is equal to, they're even 7a. So to solve the equation, what is the first step? We have to take away the same amount from both sides. So I'm going to take away 4a from both sides. Okay, after taking away 4a's from both sides, what I have here is 6 integer chips and 3a. So let's redraw it. So I have 3 a's and I have 6 integer trips. Okay, then 3a is 6. Then what is a? Then a should be 2 because you're dividing both sides by 3. Okay? Okay, everyone, remember what our goal is? Our goal, when you solve equations, our goal is always isolate the variable, right? Isolate the x. Isolate the variable. Okay, this is our goal. I'm gonna add this here on one side. Isolate the variable on one side. So this is our final goal all the time when you solve equations, okay? So we want to isolate the variable on one side, but we have the variables on both sides. In that case, we have to get rid of one of the variables to make it on one side, to keep it on one side. Okay, so that's why we took away 4a's from both sides. Okay, so here, let's solve this algebraically. So 4a plus 6 equals 7a. So we want to isolate the variable on one side. This is our final goal. So I'm just going to take away, so 7a is already isolated, 4a plus 6. So I'm going to take away 4a from both sides. Then this will be gone, and I have 6 equals 7a minus 4a, which is 3a, right? So I have the term with a isolated. We have to do one more step by dividing both sides by 3. Then a is 2. So this is how you solve the equation algebraically, okay? Okay, next question, letter B. 6x plus 2 equals 10 plus 4x. So what is our goal? Our goal is to isolate x on one side. Okay, so to isolate x on one side, we have to get rid of one of the x's. Okay, so I have 6x and 4x on the different side. So you can choose either to get rid of. So I'm going to choose 4x to remove. So I have plus 4x. What's the inverse operation of plus 4x? That is minus 4x. And remember everyone, whatever you do on one side, you have to do the same thing on the other side. Okay? So 4x will be gone. So 6x minus 4x is 2x plus 2 equals 10. So x is not isolated yet. To isolate x, we have to isolate the term with x. So we're going to subtract 2, and I have 2x equals 8. Then x will be 4. Because you're dividing both sides by 2 by 2. Okay. So we learned 2 cases. Case number 1. X is on the same side. So for example, 2x plus 3x plus 1 equals 6. So in this case, so you're having x's on the same balance scale, right? Same balance scale. So you don't have to get rid of any x's because our final goal is to isolate x on the same side, right? So 2x, 3x, you're just adding them up. It becomes, because it's on the same balance scale, right? Like this, 2x and 4x, they are on the same side of the balance scale. You're adding them up. It becomes 5x plus 1 equals 6. Okay, you're adding those two up. Case number 2. X's on the both side. Example, you have 10x plus 1 equals 7x plus 4. In this case, you're having x's on the different side of the balance scale. Okay, if you draw a scale, balance scale, you have 10x here and 7x here. So what you want to do is isolate the x on the same side. So what you have to do is you're subtracting. You're removing one of the x's from one side, and remember to do the same thing on both sides. When you subtract 7x from right hand side, you have to do the same thing on the left hand side. Okay, and it becomes 3x plus 1 equals 7x cancels out. It becomes 3x plus 1 equals 4. So you know how to solve this equation now, right? So remember, those two cases, they are not the same. Many students get confused with this. Some students, when they have to add two variables, sometimes they subtract 3x from both sides. Or sometimes they add 10x, 7x when they are on the different side. So remember those two cases and don't get confused, okay? Let's move to the example 1. So remember we learned distributed property last class? So we had two different methods to solve these questions. So I'm going to use the distributed property to solve this question, okay? So here, 0.25 bracket. Remember what's hiding in between the number and the bracket? What operation is hiding? Multiplication is hiding, right? So we're going to distribute it like fishing. So 0.10d equals 0.25 times d, times is hiding here, minus 0.25 times 30, that's 7.5. Okay, now we have the variable on both sides. Okay, that means we have to get rid of one of the variables. So remember, our final goal is to isolate the variable. So we're going to isolate the variable on one side by subtracting 0.25d from both sides. Because everyone, when there's no sign in front of the number, so there's no sign, there's nothing, right? The sign of the number is plus, positive. Okay, some students think that the sign behind the number belongs to this. No, it's not. This belongs to 7.5, right? So the sign of 0.25d is plus. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of 0.25 by subtracting 0.25d from both sides. Okay, So we subtract 0.25d from both sides. This will be gone. And 0.10d minus 0.25d will be negative 0.15d equals negative 7.5. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to divide, because multiplication is hiding here, right? We're going to divide both sides by negative 0.15, negative 0.15. So remember, whatever you do on one side, we have to do the same thing on the other side. So we divide both sides by negative 0.15. Okay, finally, d equals negative 7.5 divided by negative 0.15. So if you put that into your calculator, the answer will be 50. So the answer is 50. Okay, here's the steps. Check to see if you need to use distributive properties. Okay, here we can use distributive property to solve the equation. If you do, distribute. Combine like terms on each side. Move all the variables to one side of the equal sign by using the inverse operation. So we move the variable on one side, okay? And move all the constant. Constant is a number, so we move the number on the other side. The other side, it's a typo. The other side of the equal signs. Isolate the variable. Again, on one side. Isolate the variable on one side. This is our final goal. So, final goal. Always, when you solve equations, you have to think the final goal. That is to isolate the variable. Alright? Okay, remember, whatever you do on one side of the equal sign, you must do the same thing on the other side. Next. So you don't have to use the distributive property, but we have variables on both sides, okay? So you can just choose either number, either variable to remove. So if you decide to remove this one, you can just subtract 4.25w from both sides. Or if you choose to get rid of this one, you can just subtract 5.50w from both sides. I'm going to get rid of 4.25w. So let's do it. It doesn't matter, you can get rid of 5.50. Okay, then what I have is 35.50, and this will be gone, equals 24.25. So let's calculate it. 5.50w minus 4.25w. That will be 1.25w. Okay? So you can use your calculator to calculate this. Okay, now it's two-step equations. Our final goals. Keep the variable on one side. Isolate the variable on one side. So I'm going to subtract 24.25 from both sides. So remember, 24.25. The sign of 24.25 is positive because there's no sign in front of it. So we use the inverse operation, subtraction, to get rid of it. 24.25. Subtract from both sides. Then this will be gone. What I have is 1.25w. And let's subtract. Then that is 11.25. Alright? Okay, finally. Now we can isolate w by dividing both sides by 1.25. So remember everyone, this is a division bar. Okay, divide both sides by 1.25. Okay, then W will be, use your calculator to calculate it. Then the answer is 9. All right. Letter C. Oh, this looks tricky. Yes, this is tricky. If you use the distributive property, it becomes so tricky. So I'm going to tell you how to solve this equation using easier method. So look at this. You have 1/3 and 1/2. You have half and 1/3. I don't want to have fractions in front of a bracket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use LCM to get rid of the fraction. Okay? So what is LCM, everyone? The least common multiple. So we're going to find the least common multiple of 3 and 2. LCM of 3 and 2 is 6. So you're going to multiply 6 on both sides. Okay? So multiplying 6 on both sides, that is same as 6/1 times 1/3, 2x minus 1. 6/1 times 1/2, 3x plus 1. Okay, then 6/1 times 1/3. You can reduce it. And 6/1 times 1/2. Reduce it by 3 and by 2. Okay, 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. So 2/1. 2x minus 1. Here, this is 3/1. 3x plus 1. Okay, so we don't have to keep over 1. So I'm just going to get rid of over 1. Now, the equation became so much easier. We don't have the fraction in front of the bracket. Now you use distributive property. So 2 times 2x, 2 times -1. 3 times 3x, 3 times +1. So then 2 times 2x is 4x minus 2. 9x plus 3. And since you have the variable on both sides, I'm just going to subtract 4x from both sides. Then I have -2 equals 9x minus 4x is 5x plus 3. Let's isolate 5x by subtracting 3 from both sides. That is -5x. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Both sides by 5. Then your final answer, your x will be -5 divided by 5 is -1. So the answer is -1. Okay? So remember, everyone, when you have a fraction in front of the bracket, what you do is you multiply the LCM of the denominator to make it simple. Okay, your turn questions. I want you to pause the video and try solving those 3 questions, right? Okay, have you guys tried it? Let's do it together. So 0.2, we are going to use distributive property. Or we can also use division, right? So remember, everyone, 0.2 times e plus 4.8 equals 3.4 times e. So timesing is hiding, okay? Timesing is hiding. So to solve the question, you may use distributive property, or before you solve it, you can even cancel the multiplication because our goal is always to isolate E. So we want to get rid of this number. Okay, so this time, instead of using the distributive property, let's just get rid of this one. Okay, multiplying 0.2. We're going to divide 0.2 from both sides. Okay, then this will be gone, and I have E plus 4.8 bracket, but you can omit the bracket because there's nothing else but this one, right? And here, 3.4 divided by 0.2. Use your calculator to find the answer, and that is 0.17 E. And then if you use your calculator, that is 17 E. Okay? Right, E plus 4.8 equals 17 E. Now you have to collect E's by removing E from both sides. Okay, before we remove E, I want you to remember this. 1 is hiding, okay? 1 is hiding in front of E. So we're basically subtracting 1E from both sides. Gone. Then I have 4.8 equals 16E. Okay, to find E, what you have to do is divide both sides by 16. Okay, so put this into your calculator. Then your E will be 0.3. So do you guys understand how to do this? So when you have this kind of questions, there are two methods of solving this problem. You can simply use the distributive property to solve it, or you can just get rid of this multiplication first and collect the variable to solve the problems, right? So for this question, I use the distributive property instead of removing multiplication. And this problem, I removed 0.2, multiplying 0.2 by dividing 0.2 from both sides to solve the equation. So remember, there are two methods. I want you to be familiar with both methods. Letter B. Okay, everyone, we have fractions again. So to solve the question, like I said, we have to think about the LCM of 4 and 2. What is the LCM of 4 and 2? That is 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 4 on both sides. Multiply 4. Multiplying 4 is same as multiplying 4 over 1. 4 over 1. Is that right? Okay. Then cross simplification. Diagonal simplification. 4 becomes 1. 2 becomes 1. 4 becomes 2. Alright. Then on the left hand side, you get 3f plus 1 equals. So everyone remember, when you have this fraction, you always need to consider that you have bracket around the numerator. So 2 times 3 plus 2f. So after multiplying the LCM, we have much simpler equations. And now we're going to do the distributive property. We're going to distribute it. Then it becomes 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 2f is 4f. Okay. Now we're going to remove 3f from left hand side. And what I have here is, this will be gone. I have 1 equals 6 plus 4f minus 3f. That is f. And let's subtract 6 from both sides. Then f will be isolated and 6 will be gone. 1 minus 6 is negative 5. So the answer is negative 5. The last question. Let's use distributive property. So 3 times 0.5, 3 times 0.5, 3 times 1.3, 2 times 0.4, 2 times negative 0.85. Use your calculator to distribute it. It becomes 1.5t plus 3.9 equals 0.8t minus 1.7. Now you're going to remove one of the variable because we have variable on both sides. So let's remove 0.8t. And this will be gone. I have 0.7t plus 3.9 equals negative 1.7. Now we're going to subtract 3.9 from both sides. Then 0.7t equals negative 5.6. Then t will be, you can find the t by dividing both sides by 0.7, right? Then if you divide both sides by 0.7, the answer will be negative 8. Okay, so t equals negative 8 is the final answer. Alright, grade 9, that is it for today. So now I want you to start doing your homework. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye, everyone.